Good evening. This is a special meeting of the Park Acquisition Corporation from Green Valley Local Country Club. It's preceding a closed session that will be conducted as soon as our introductions and public comment session is over, and we will retire to the library, have our closed session, and then we'll come back, and at 6 o'clock we'll have a regular PAC monthly meeting. So I'd like to call this session to order. And approve for the and call for approval of the agenda items on the closed session.
We will be approve the agenda and the session.
Second. Okay. Any comment? So we will begin by asking for public comment on the closed session item. And the closed session item is to take action to prepare to hire legal counsel. So if you have any comment with regard to that, we welcome your comments.
Oh, you guys get that.
That's reporting.
They can't hear you. Oh, it's saying it's garbled. I'm
People in the chat are saying it's garbled. Yeah, which means the recording.
Yeah, go ahead and continue. I'll take care of this.
The technical glitch, and we'll start up again as soon as we can. I know you're thinking about this, John, but where's the position of the microphone?
I'll just take a moment to, this doesn't need to be in the minutes or anything, but there seemed to be confusion. This public comment is for the topic of the closed session only. In the second meeting, our regular monthly meeting, the public comment is for items not on the agenda. So it's a little confusing.
There's one side.
Yes.
Thank God for John's technical expertise.
Any luck? Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Okay, that's fine. That's good as you can get. It's not great audio, but it's recording, and that's just so. So we're getting better now.
So I'd like to ask for a public comment for any items on the agenda. Please come up and identify yourself. Items on the agenda.
No. Hi, Michelle Rodriguez, and my comment is on the closed session item regarding to take action to prepare to hire a legal counsel. A couple of different things. One is, while we've been attending these different meetings with PAC, I've been accumulating the comments that you all have been commenting on and sent those 12 questions to the chair and I think to Steve. So you have those, you can do whatever you want with those, but that's just what's been commented. So I wanted to put those into a laundry list. The next item was that I wanted you to know that I'm doing a comparison between the delegation agreement and the management agreement, and to really better understand what have been our the expectations in there for the PAC for management for outside entities, just so we can see kind of at a glance, are we meeting expectations, just so we're aware. That'll take me a few days to do that. The other thing regarding the legal counsel is I have to say, I guess I'm a little concerned about the relationship between hourly rate and how that can fly out the window and who's going to be our point of contact and all of that. Just process, how are we going to do that? And I know you can answer that right now, but I'll thank you for proceeding.
Thank you, Michelle. So you have a public comment on items on the agenda.
Correct. So I would hope within the relationship with the legal counsel, we can get better understandings of relationship with city, relationship with somebody that might buy the park, what our rights are, that it's not just to go over one particular scenario, but all scenarios in terms of rights and protections, so that level of anxiety in the park can get lower with information rather than speculation.
One more public comment. So please state your name and address.
What we do, Miranda.
Next one, really get to meet you, I've seen your name before, and heard your voice, and I've seen your email.
Thank you, you too. So maybe two suggestions for those of us who are new, who don't know all of the history. It might be good for there's some easy way to get brought up to speed, particularly in relation to how the park was originally structured and passed on. And as you go into the closed door meeting, I think that we really need to have a clear mission for those who we are seeking help from. Because in the past several meetings, I've heard a whole host of objectives, a whole host of possible outcomes that a lawyer or a mitigator could help us with. And we really need to have clarity to know the direction. You know, for instance, I've heard some people say that the residents should go to the park. And immediately have the other residents said, no. You know, so there's alignment there. There's the desire to keep the city as the owner. There's the desire for maybe the potential buyer isn't that bad, given the other options that might be sold to. There is the mention of the nonprofit, or maybe a sale with contingencies. So my hope is when we come maybe at the meeting at 6 o'clock, that we can have a better understanding of how we come to the objective that we're going to place in front of the person that we're seeking help from, so that they're not confused. Right?
No.
Thanks.
Hello, Carrie.
Clubby Drive. I just wanted to remind everybody in the room as well as you guys that part of seeking legal counsel is to understand what we need to do to proceed. We don't have all the answers. And thus far, my understanding that you guys are looking to hire someone that can look at all the aspects in front of us and tell us what we need to do. So I think that's gonna be hard for everyone, including you guys, because you'll be in contract with that legal person or company, and they will tell us, based on the law, what we can do. And we might not like it, but they're gonna guide us. So I just wanted to add.
Suzanne was wrong, and I apologize if I'm asking a question, I stated something that someone else is saying, so I couldn't hear, so I rushed up. After thinking everything through that I've read that everyone said, it feels to me like the only thing that gives me any peace of mind is if we own the clubhouse. Or own the club, the own the whole thing, the shebang. If anybody else owns it, we're constantly in jeopardy of them selling it. And why wouldn't they? Look where we live. So if we're pursuing any legal advice, would it please be around us only. Otherwise, I think we're just kicking the can down the road on tenterhooks, waiting for the next person to sell it.
Hi, Todd Rogers, 9 Colony. I just want to make sure, Steve was kind enough to share the financial with me, I don't know, a week ago or so now, I think. Took the time to put it up year by year, balance sheet, P&L, all next to each other, just to see what it told me. And one thing I want to caution you against is making sure that any attorney you see is fully aware of that information, what the city has done or not done, what we didn't catch or not catch, or what our audit didn't catch when it comes to expenses or things like that that we maybe are facing now, like as far as insurance bills, you just got that credit for investment income. And I just want to make sure that we're giving a full picture to the attorneys, not just how bad the city was, but anything we missed on our side as well that we maybe should have or not, depending on the responsibility that that particular side falls in, but it's supposed to be for us or the city. So just be cautious of that. Not all good on every side. So build up for honesty.
Oh, I will leave.
Seeing no further public comment, we have noted your comments, and we will absorb and contemplate and hopefully be able to settle circumstances that will satisfy all your questions very soon. And with that, I'd like to adjourn this public session and go into the private session in the library, and we will return before 6 o'clock to start the regular public session. Thank you for coming.
We can't hear it all, John. Any speaking is garbled.
It's Zoom, okay, but I don't hear anything on this.
Good or what?
I just use the internal sound. So we can see here. I know. Okay, so, okay, can anybody hear me? How does this sound? It's not much if you can hear. Raise your hand if you can hear. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's coming, it's going through now. What's wrong with that? Is it clearer than before? So that John is recording now.
Good evening. This is the regular monthly PAC board meeting. Today is July 3rd, 2023, and it's approximately 6 o'clock. I'd like to report out on the results of the closed session that we just had in the library. And the result is that the board voted that we should be prepared to hire legal counsel. And we are continuing our investigations, and we will report back with our results as soon as possible. I'd like to call for approval for this final agenda of this regular regular monthly meeting.
So,
Second. Any comment? Public comment? All in favor, approval of agenda 5-0. And now I'd like to ask if there is any public comment for items not on this particular agenda that you would like us to hear. So if you have a public comment for items that you do not think is going to be covered during this session, please come forward and let us know. Please. No hot food in the breezeway, right?
That's not what I'm gonna comment on. The health department already knows what we're doing. Kevin Mulvaney, 115 Piano Drive. So the health department knows what the food operation. I just want to can I make a quick comment? People are leaving the pool area gate open and then leaving the area. One of the primary reasons for small children to drown is because the gates are not properly closed. This is happening all the time. We see it all the time. I just want to remind you, whoever left that gate open is on camera, and you will be held liable. It's very simple to run that camera back and say, this person was the last one out, left the gate open. That gate should be closed every single time we go in and out. If you need a key, go get a key. It's really ridiculous. We have small children on site frequently. Please. I've gone to a lot of drones. Everyone's sitting there crying. And then the lawyers show up. Then it gets real interesting. Don't leave the gate open. Get a key. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak before the board? Yes, right.
You're asking what's on the agenda. Do we have a copy of the agenda?
it was sent to you. You're one of the people on the list.
That's what I want to, I'll go back to the house and get it.
No, you
You don't have
don't have to. Yeah, right. You want to read it aloud?
Oh,
Nominate Jay.
please.
Can I say something?
Anyone like to please? Oh,
Jay, can I say something?
This has nothing,
Your name, state your name.
can you hear me?
Yes, state your name, please.
Name
This
and
is
address.
Passion Beauty, 123 Sunrise Lane. I've lived here since 2006. This has nothing to do with the agenda. I've been wanting to bring this up for years. I would like to have Gay Day here in the park. Novato honors the gay flag. I would like us to honor the gay flag at the beginning of June for every day. And I would like to have a gay day parade. That means anybody who supports anybody who is LGBTQIA, then you could come walk with us down Marin Valley Drive. And for next year. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Adrian Denise, and I've lived here for 24 years, and I must confess, I've never had much curiosity about how things go. But all of a sudden, I'd like to know, we want
Mm,
benefits, where does the money go? And how do we find that out? Now, where does the money, when we pay rent, to whom does it go? The city or Helsinki?
What's your address?
179, Marin Valley Drive.
I'm not gonna answer you right away, but it will come up.
Thank you.
Public
Can we
comment.
hear a report on the closed session again?
There's one here first. Yeah.
Sorry about that. David Gray, 111 Marin Valley Drive. I'm just curious if the lift pump work is
Good, Tim.
still running on schedule to hopefully end on July 31st. And you guys don't have that answer, but if you could ask Matt if we're still on target to have all of this heavy equipment go away, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Liz?
What did you say, John? Can you say it up here if you had something to say about that?
Been told.
This is John Feld.
This is John Feld, 11 Clubview. I've been told secondhand that somebody spoke to the people who were there just the other day, and they plan to start completely again on July 10th.
Did everybody hear that? It is soft-spoken. He said, someone spoke to the people who were working the other day, who said the work would resume on July 10th.
Michelle Rivers, 8 Beeridge Drive. So interesting you would ask about having a gay day, because a gay friend of mine came over last week and I said to him, we ought to have a gay something celebration in the park. And he's a flagger, and he said he'd volunteer next year if we got it going to do these wonderful flags. So, and it's brilliant. He does it with music and it's so creative and artistic. It's lovely. So yeah, it's great. Will we have a chance to comment after the board or ask questions after you do what you're doing?
After every agenda item, there's an opportunity for the public.
Okay, because I don't know quite what you're going to be covering, and I did read the things. Just one point I have is I sort of tidy up around here, you know, I put the chairs back, I water the plants outside on the deck and things, and this office furniture has shown up, which really isn't very very attractive. And it's just all sort of down the back there. Is that something we really do need, or can we put that in the Breezeway boutique, and if it doesn't go, the person who left it comes and takes it away like we do with everything else? Question? Okay.
Thank you.
Can we have another report on the closed session?
I am Juliet Mortimer McClan, and I live at 24 View Ridge Drive. And I just wanted to add about, the work that's going on over on Marin Valley Drive. My husband, David, who worked for 45 years in heavy construction and is like an expert on concrete, he did a whole bunch of concrete work. And, I told him what's been going on at these meetings and whatnot. And he says, well, when you pour concrete, you need to have like 28 days for it to cure before you can walk on it, maybe put your heart and your name in it, that sort of thing, but it has to cure before you can continue any more like really sound structural work. And that's all I really want to say to add that to the mix. So thank you.
Public comment.
we have a-
Marin View Drive, it came to my attention that in all the articles at the Marin IG, it was not mentioned that when I moved in 2013, about 1 or 2 years later, we were asked to give $250,000 to the city. And that I did not read anywhere. And I thought it was for preserving land to remain natural. But later on, and this is, I need to fact check, I don't know if that's true, but I do believe it was then residentially zoned by the city and they did make quite a bit of money, as was confirmed by our management. So there was no thank you or gratitude expressed by the city, which I'm missing.
Public comment. Anyone else would like to speak to the board? And seeing
Yes.
none, I'd like to move on to the consent calendar and to approve the minutes of the June 3rd, 2023 annual meeting.
I moved.
I mean, annual meeting, monthly meeting, right?
No,
Oh, annual
June-
meeting, right, correct.
June 3rd, I move to approve the draft minutes of the June 3rd, 2023 annual meeting.
Let's second that.
Any board comment? Any resident comment? Call for approval, all in favor of accepting the minutes, for the annual meeting? All right.
Yes, 5-0. Jay, can you speak into the mic? Could people also turn off your phone? Thank you.
Okay, second, call for approval of the June 6th, 2023 regular meeting.
I move to approve the draft minutes that were sent out to everybody on the list. All these were of the June 6th, 2023 regular meeting.
Second,
Seconded.
any board comment? Any resident comment? Call for a vote, all in favor of accepting the minutes? 5-0. And thirdly, approval of the minutes of the June 13th, 2023 special meeting.
I move to approve the draft minutes of the June 13th, 2023 special meeting.
And I will second that too.
Any board comment?
Yes, I would like to make a comment that, the agendas and the minutes of the PAC meetings used to be sent out to people on an opt-in basis, so I only have like maybe 100 people on that list. That is now an opt-out basis, so now everybody who has ever shared their email address is on that list. So even some of the people in the room today may not have been getting those things. You will now. If you don't wish to get them, then you email me, I'm the secretary, and say, take me off the list. But I would think that now, because there's a lot of things going on, that everybody would want to get them. So what I want to say is that when these minutes are finalized, they go on Irma Whately puts them on our website, marinvalley.net. So if you have friends who can't make it to the meetings for one reason or another, please direct them to read the minutes when they're finalized and on the marinvalley.net website.
Thank you, Carol. Yes,
I just want to say thank you.
Karen, microphone, please. Thank you. That was Karen Morrison. Thank you. And I, Carol Joy Harris, share that with the recording secretary, Terry Beausejour, who spends many hours going over the recordings of the meetings, making those minutes, and then I just edit them. So it's a
thank you,
shared.
Carol.
Thank you.
So I can call for approval of those final minutes. We already have. Now we have 5-0. Going for reports, reports on maintenance and capital projects, including information on water usage, energy usage, street and parking lighting. Matt Greenberg is not here this evening. He said that he didn't have any report to give except for perhaps if you haven't noticed, the goats are here. And our understanding is that there's twice as many goats as there were last year. They're moving very quickly. And I might have John to just say a comment about the goats.
Okay, yeah, the goats, you notice they are really goats. There's twice as many basically as there was last year. And they're gonna be here for almost twice as long. So we're gonna get a lot of rumination going out in the fields there. So, anyway, and the thing is that it's all free for us. We don't have to pay a cent for that.
Wow.
And the city does not have to pay a cent for that. This is all through the Water Fire District and the Marine Wildfire Prevention Authority.
The observation, it seems like they're hitting it pretty well. I mean, the rains have stopped, the grasses grew quite rapidly. And now they're gonna get mowed down before the drought hits and they dry out and present a real problem for a fire. So we hit it pretty well this year.
Are they going close to, like, the back of my property?
Can you,
I'm sorry.
Janet, if you have, no, please, if you have a question, please.
Sorry, Janet, 23 Marin Valley Drive, and I have a 6-foot fence behind my property, and the grasses come all the way down and then up to the street, and they never go.
I got
far against the
it.
fence.
What's gonna happen is that we're gonna hire a group of people to go around to cut very close to your fence, and then the goats will be 5 or 6 feet away on the electric fence, and they'll you know, room their way through that field. So in other words, we're gonna take care of the first couple of feet, and then the goats will come in, because we can't put the electric fence right on top of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to move on to the treasury report from Steve Clover.
Okay, this is for the end of May. We don't have any reports for the end of June yet. The petty cash bank account stands at $2,074. The PAC budget account that's in our city account, the line item in our budget. We have a $4,000 annual budget. As of the end of May, we had used 2,879 of that. That gets renewed to another new 4,000 at the beginning of this year. Actually, I'm not sure it's true. Is it 2,000 now for the coming year? Yeah, well, it's pretty close.
Cut back.
We got cut back, like many things on the budget this year. Which brings me to the DSCR. Through the end of May, it is 1.69. And I think a lot of changes will happen in June, and it'll get closer to 2.0, but I don't know if it'll make it. But the new budget for the coming year is designed to come in at 2.0.
Steve, could you explain again for people who might not know, who haven't been tuned in, what that is?
Yes.
The DSCR, that's a acronym, debt service coverage ratio. Debt service coverage ratio, DSCR. That means we have to have enough profit at the bottom of our P&L to cover twice the amount of our annual debt payments. Our annual debt payments end up to be $651,000 for a year. So twice that is 1.3 million, right? So that's what we need for the bottom line. And historically, we always come in under that, but the last couple of years have been getting tighter. As it's been getting, our profits been coming down every year, getting tighter, because as you all know, expenses were growing and the rents were not growing. So, but that should be improving as there is a rent increase for the coming year. So that, and we have a very much tightened budget. For some reason, none of us are quite sure about the budget for last year. Even when we go back and look at it, it doesn't pencil out properly for a DSCR of 2.0.
And we're not sure how that happened because Jay and I would be meeting with Chris Blanc over a year ago, as we do at the end of every year, to make sure that it does, but it appears there were some adjustments made in the year that made the budget go out of balance. And I think we'll be very wary of that in the future, and we have to pay more attention. Okay, so we'll see what happens with June, and the coming year should be better.
Thank you. Just my comment on that is basically debt service ratio. Interest on the amount still outstanding and repayment of that portion of the loan that will be retired at whatever the term is. So you have two figures, and we were asked to maintain a DSCR of 2, meaning we have twice that amount, which should mean that the half that doesn't get expended for the debt and the interest can go therefore into our reserves. So it's a built-in reserve builder. Thank you, Steve. Answer question? Question.
Yeah, Meg Jordan, 29 Murder Valley Drive. It relates to what you just said about, because of a rent increase, the DSCR should be better shape next year. City council passed their budget. In the budget was the rent increase. It had a date on there, which was kind of crazy for July 1. We know that they couldn't do that because they got to give us 90 days. But do you have a sense of when it is, since you're confident that?
I do not. Any ideas?
I spoke to Matt the other day and he said he has been given no direction, so he has no idea.
So they pass the budget and they all agree that there's a rent increase and nobody informs us so far. Okay, thanks.
Dave Tedder, 16 City Drive. Steve, I'm wondering if you can tell us historically over the last 3 or 4 years, what the average DSCR has been.
Over the last 3 or 4 years, our DSCR has probably ranged between 2.1 and 2.3. I don't have it in front of me, but I recall we're usually in that area of 2.2, a little bit lower, a little above. It'd be very hard to come out like 2.5 or 3. We just don't have that kind of income, and our expenses aren't low enough.
Susan Meyer, 110 Panorama. My understanding is that if the DSCR is not 2.0, the bank can recall the loan at the end of the fiscal year. Is that correct? And does that start July 1st, and the 1.9 that you said would be the bank looking at that number for that fiscal year?
So what has to happen is that the figures have to be audited by an auditor, and they haven't had an audited statement for themselves for 5 years. And we haven't had an audited statement of their figures for the same period of time. Our accounting, our CPA at Housing Group figures our accounts are reported out every. So we have a feeling for what our figures are, but we are at in a way the mercy of the accounting of the city for those audited figures. And Steve and I asked that part of the brush clearing be on the newly acquired land that we purchased to reduce the fire danger, and it was agreed upon that $125,000 would not be in our operating budget, but in our capital budget. And for some reason, the accounting department, seeing the label that it was for brush clearing, decided to put in operating account. So therefore, that would automatically decrease the DSCR. And they have been playing catch-up ball for the last 3 or 4 years. We've been getting bills in the neighborhood of almost, just the rough numbers, $550,000 to $700,000 for items that may not even have been budgeted. And how they account for that certainly distorts our DSCR. And they obviously also don't want to have the bank, I don't think, recall their loan. So because of the accounting that's been going on at the city of Nevada, we are all sort of scratching our heads trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay, but the fiscal year starts July 1, so if we have this rent increase within the next 3 months and we get back to 2.0, then what happened in 2020?
The bank loan reads the DSCR calculated by the figures on the audited financial statements. Until we have audited financial statements, there's going to be no calculation.
Okay.
Janet Schultes, 23 Marin Valley Drive. Are we gonna hire a private auditing firm to check out the city of Nevada? With what money?
We don't have authority or resources.
Then are we going to sue the city of Nevada for their accounting mistakes?
We can't comment on that. Basically, you saw that in the special meeting. We are in the process of preparing to take legal counsel, and we're expecting that legal counsel to advise us on a course
Jay.
of action.
You have to speak in the mic.
Speak into the microphone, please, Judge. Okay, so did we get through the finance committee?
So I wanted to address one more thing. Someone asked about the rent. What happens to your rent checks? This property is owned by the city of Nevada. They are the landlord. We are tenants. Our rent checks get collected by Matt in the office here. They get forwarded to the Helsing Group Inc., who manages the bank accounts, which belong to the city. Helsing Group deposits the checks, they pay the bills. So all the money goes through them, but the accounts they are managing belong to the city of Nevada. All the money belongs to the city of Nevada, including the reserve funds. Okay?
I just want to make one comment about the DSCR. I don't care if we're not at 2.0, because if the bank wants to reclaim the loan, fine. I've been trying to get the city to pay off the loan for years. So, I think that might be a benefit.
They're not gonna, what do you call foreclose on the park. We would just pay off the loan.
They would call a loan and we would pay.
You would answer.
Michelle Rivers, 8 Newbridge Drive. I was talking to a friend of mine about the situation. She lives in Woodacre. She's a really on-the-ball woman. And she went to the Board of Supervisors, to their supervisor, to request money for some water treatment study in Woodacre. And she got gifted $50,000. She then went back and asked for $100,000, and her representative of the area is considering it. So she suggested that we approach our local district, and she said 6 people go to the office. I've got the number in his office and everything, and talk to them about funding for legal counsel and accounting. And we might be fortunate enough to get the money. She also said, so many, can I just finish? She also said so many people support having low-income housing and housing for seniors that if you did a GoFundMe, she said, I know I would download send some money in, and most of Marin County would as well. So I know that sounds a little bit off the rails, but it's worth looking into. And it would also show the city of Nevada that the whole of Marin cares about us.
Adrian?
This is for items on the agenda, the speaking action.
Oh, I can't.
We're speaking about the finance committee report.
Okay.
Steve, you want to finish up your finance committee or have you? I'm done. Okay. Any comments from the board? The bishop? Any additional comments from the board? Or from the residents about the finance?
I do remember vividly the last time there was an audit of the city's finances. And they were warned that if they didn't improve, they wouldn't make it. And that made it crystal clear that they were already before COVID in a very difficult position. So it is, relaxation is important. And I don't think we have much influence on what the city is going to do. I think they have their ways.
That was Martina Kokritz.
Yeah.
For the record.
And Michelle Rodriguez. I just want to, I heard people talking about a rent increase, and I just want to get clarity from PAC that what I read from the budget was that there was going to be a rent increase in July, and then another, that was 5%, and then another rent increase in January. And that was going to be based upon the cost of living or something at that time. So can we just clarify, there's 2 upcoming rent increases during this fiscal year?
Michelle, my understanding is there's only one rent increase of 5%, and that they're still figuring out when they can actually impose that on the not impose, but ask the residents to pay a 5% interest increase.
And at that meeting where the city council said that, the person who made the motion said to look at it again on January 1.
The city staff did want 2 rent increases, but the city council only approved 1.
But to look at it again on January 1.
Okay, moving on to receiving reports on the 2x2 meetings. Carol Joy Harrison, Steve.
There is no report, and the city has canceled until further notice any 2x2 meetings. They just don't have, they don't know who would meet with us, so we're just waiting to hear.
Okay,
Did you want to add?
As some of you know, Chris Blanc was our contact at the city. He was in charge of the Public Works Department, and managing MVMCC goes along with that position, and he has left employment with the city of Novato. So the position of the person who works with us is vacant right now. So that's who the 2x2 meetings generally happen with. So until they find a replacement, we will not be having those meetings or much going on with the city.
Maggie Siegfried, 2 View Ridge Drive. So would it be a conflict of interest for a person, a resident of the park, to be that person on the 2x2?
Oh, yeah. The 2x2 was set up because when you have 3 people, like 3 PAC board members, anywhere, it automatically becomes a PAC board meeting. This is because of the Brown Act from 1953 for transparency. Same thing with city, like city council members.
So it has to be.
So the 2x2 was set up so that 2 PAC board members and 2 city people, and it's changed over the years, can meet. Okay, so that's what it is.
So it was, we were gonna meet with 1 person, and they left.
Well, no, we actually met with 2, but that second person changed, but Chris Blunt was our contact the last couple of years, but before that, it was somebody else. And
Okay, thank you.
okay, point of order, I'd like to move on. Receive reports regarding project planning, John Henson and Jay Shelford. John, do you have anything?
Well, yeah, there's not much in the way of projects going on. I think we've apparently resolved the issue with the pump station hiatus going on there. And it's probably a good thing to cure the concrete. The other projects, besides the goats, that I think we need to address this year, and we're trying to do that, and that is replace the clubhouse roof before it rains again. John F. Kennedy said the time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. So now is the time to repair the roof. The other project has to do with our fields, high power switch stations, and those need to be replaced also ASAP because they're antiques or dinosaurs or whatever you want to call them that they need to be replaced. Now, neither of those are on the budget currently, but there's a number of other things on the budget, and we will be meeting with the city to request some amendments to the budget. And I'm going to try to make sure that those two items get on there so we can stay dry in here this winter.
Point of clarification that we cannot amend the budget ourselves. We presented the budget that was amended by the city staff. The city staff had what they wanted approved by the city council. And now our only opportunity is within the next couple of weeks to request an amendment to those. And we are preparing that, and we will try to get those items back on the budget. All the Mary,
Go ahead.
okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Catherine McNeely, 123 Sunrise Lane. I have a question. When you meet with the city again, can you ask them if they can replace the person that left the job that could be our liaison?
Thank you.
Yeah, they're working. I find this very interesting that the roof is not in Mary Curry. Sorry, Mary Curry. That the roof is not in the fiscal year budget starting today.
It is.
The roof repair, I was just told it wasn't.
This roof is in the budget.
Somebody just said it wasn't. The clubhouse roof is in the budget for this fiscal year.
It was in there last year. It was not.
The point I want to make is that Matt told me in January, he had the money to replace it and he would replace it in the spring in last fiscal year. I'm a little ticked off that didn't happen. Helsing Group did not follow through.
Alan Gump, 6 View Ridge Drive. Regarding special projects, will there be ran tree service here to clear out dead and dying trees this summer?
Yes.
Thank you.
I can expand on that a little bit more. Actually, I wanted to a while ago about the goats, and that is that there is a major project. It's about a 5-year, $21 million project here in Nevada. It's called the Greater Nevada Shaded Fuel Break. And again, the Nevada Fire District and the Marine Wildfire Prevention Authority are handling that. And they are starting actually several places, but here as well this year. And just to mention it again is that we have Bill Davis, I think, to thank for that, because it was on the tail end. It was on the tail end of their calendar and somehow managed to get up front. So yeah, that's going to happen here in a big way, much bigger, much broader, and much better than it has been in the past. No cost.
Serena Fisher, 6 View Ridge Drive. I have lost touch with what's happening with PG&E and regarding their potential support for upgrading infrastructure. And I was wondering if that is still on the cards. I know it was a big grant. If you could give us an update, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. very early again. I want to apologize. I was a little angry there. Sorry. I just think it is demonstrating a lack of coordination between Helsing and the city. If that was in the budget, my experience in government, you spend what's in the budget before the fiscal year ends. Hello. So I'm just upset that coordination didn't occur with the city to get the job done. So that's why I'm upset.
Sorry, just a point of clarification for you, Mary, and for all your residents. We've been pushing for a number of items that were budgeted for. And what we've been told, and specifically about the roof, is that the engineering staff at the city, because in the delegation agreement, they take control of any spending over $30,000. So a roof project, which may cost over $100,000, must be attended to by the city engineering staff and approved and carried forward. So that has been on the budget for a while, and we have been denied that project by them saying, we just don't have the time to do it. Please, I can hear you.
Good evening.
I'm sorry.
Hold on, wait.
John Ewing, 7 Fallen Leaf. I'm just curious, with the Heisling Group, why Matt, and I like Matt, isn't required to be at this meeting with everything that's going on? Is there a reason to that? But, he's not here. I know it's a holiday.
Well, it's a holiday and we talk to him all the time. And
We don't know that.
yeah, we talk to him all the time, and he basically has been put in the back seat because of what's happening with the city. And he just doesn't have, he reports on projects and he doesn't have anything working right now because he's looking for the budget for funding. But he's around, he's involved, he's working, and he'll be on board soon. I mean, he'll be here.
Okay, thank you.
You want to hear about the PG&E? Okay. What I can say about the PG&E is that when I was on the 2x2, we were arguing the point that the PG&E project cannot go forward until they have a project plan, which is developed by Siegel Electric, the people that would normally do the work, and with the planning staff of PG&E. So that project planning would probably cost in the neighborhood of $50,000, which has to be authorized by the owner. And Chris had said that he doesn't have that authorization, that he would have to take it to the council. We asked him to take it to council, and he came up with a excuse of he's not really sure whether we would be on board to pay for the whole project, or whether PG&E just needed that to do the planning. We numerously times told him that the planning is necessary to take place before the project is being considered by PG&E and the PUC, and that amount of money, the $50,000 approximately to do that planning, isn't to be paid by the owner or by the city or by us until the project actually begins. The project is probably slated to cost in excess of $20 million, so that the cost to us of $50,000 seems to be something that we should push forward, which we did. And they just kept that argument going that they thought it was too expensive. They didn't have the money budgeted for this $20 million, and they didn't authorize the project plan.
Short answer, no.
All right, let me go on to MBUS. I think we've got part of MBUS already, but John, do you have anything to add?
Well, the only thing I need to add is that, MBUS has been working for a long time, years, been trying to get on top of and stay in front of, threats to the park. Well, guess what? We missed one. Sorry about that. But we're trying to address it now.
Any comments about the, yeah, John? John, Phil?
I would just, John Feld, 11 Club View. I would just like to add that we at Invest had planned for additional training to start. But with this whole purchase or whatever is going on, we decided that we were all too distracted and probably the people in the park would be too distracted. So we postponed that. And as soon as some level of normalcy comes back, we will initiate our training again, but it's all planned and ready to go.
Thanks, John. Any other comment? Okay, moving on to, say up here, John, don't go away. HOL.
Can you hear John back there?
Yeah.
Okay,
John Feld, 11 Club View Right Drive. I will talk a little louder if I can. There's really nothing to report about HOL. Our meeting is tomorrow in the fireside room. Please come. We'd love you to be there. But like everything else, this has taken priority, and our regular things like yoga and water aerobics continue, but no new things are really going to happen. We're going to have a grandkids and kids day, but that's in 2 months.
The meeting's Wednesday, John.
Well, it's Wednesday, not tomorrow. I'm sorry. The meeting is Wednesday, always. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Marvell, Carolyn Corey here. Yes.
Oh, here, I'm sorry. Carolyn Corey emailed me the Marvell report. Marvell will be having their annual pasta pub night on July 21st. And the director of hospitality, Larry Moore, will be preparing pasta with a choice of pesto or meat sauce. That'll be $10 a person, and the deadline for signing up is July 18th. And tomorrow, they are hosting the 4th of July celebration, and there's 90+ people signed up for that, and they'll be outside on the deck.
is there entertainment? I think there is, right? I think we're having Brenda Foster and her group tomorrow.
I don't think it's a Marvell thing, but, or a HOL thing, but there's a guitar on Sunday, is it? The gentleman that Charlotte Kells brings in every year. Oh,
Mary Curry is asking about Bill Hartwell, and that's in July 16th.
It's very good.
Yeah, she's great.
John Charles again. It's July 16th in here, no charge, and it's always wonderful. And we invite everybody to come and enjoy it.
What
He's-
time?
3 o'clock.
3 to 5.
He's an amazingly amusing musical man, and everybody just loves him. And he's got a new record out.
Thank you, Marvell. And finally, Carol July Harris will report on rules and regulations.
Rules and regulations. You're gonna love
City of
this.
Nevada.
Yeah, okay, so, if you were here at that big meeting on June 19th, I made a very snide remark about how the rules and regulations have been with the city for quite some time. And it sounded like I was criticizing Chris Blunt because they've been on his desk. And he came up to me afterwards and he said, well, you know, I thought that we should settle all these problems that we're having right now before we deal with the rules and regulations. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. But that doesn't explain the last 3 years that they've been with the city, or the 7 years before that. And he kind of
shrunk away. So rules and regulations, no report.
More the same.
Okay, moving on, old business, none. New business. New business, the discussion and the possible solicitation of funds and anticipation of possible retention of legal counsel, including the creation and the management of said fund. So, would anyone like to pick that up? I will pick it up, and basically the discussion and anticipation of possible retention of legal counsel is predicated by the action of the city over the past 6 months, which came to a head when the city reported to the grand jury of Marin County why they hadn't been able to balance their budget and what they were going to do about it, basically. And basically, the city supplied, as I understanding, figures with regard to Marin Valley Mobile Country Club, which portrayed Marin Valley Mobile Country Club as being in the red for many years. Aghast by this, Steve did a lot of work in proving out that that wasn't the case. But in the subsequent city council meeting, a gentleman from Nevada who had been on this park 3 previous times stood up and offered to take the park off their hands for approximately $30 million. Now, basically, the Park Acquisition Corporation was formed in 1988 by citizens of Nevada living in Marin Valley Mobile Country Club who wanted to preserve affordable housing for themselves and their class of people. And we're in negotiations over a long period of time with the owner, which ended in 1997, wherein the owner, Sade, approached the PAC and said, I'm getting ready to sell, would you like to buy it? So the negotiations progressed to the point where the residents couldn't really come up with financing, and they went to the city, and the city, thinking it as a wonderful idea to provide affordable housing to the residents of Nevada, agreed to arrange financing. And basically, because they couldn't use public funds to benefit the residents of Marin Valley Mobile Country Club, the title had to pass through a financing authority, which when the finance authorities were retired by government action in Sacramento, the quick and easy way was to just pass title to the city. So the city, I would say, in a way, helped us by taking title, so the project didn't have to be sold. But in that taking of the title away from the finance authority, they removed a lot of the structural safeguards that were instituted in that bond agreement to protect the bondholders. So there was a lot of checks and balances and oversight, which were taken out of the subsequent loan from the Bank of Marin to then pick up the financing. I stood up at that time and said I didn't like it for a number of reasons, one of which was the fact that they were taking away these safeguards for the residents. And I also didn't like it that what they were taking away our 6.5% account bearing interest with the State Bank of Germany. But my reservations were not taken into account, and they passed on the loan to, or the money borrowings to, the Bank of Marin. And basically that's where we are now, where the loan is going to be retired in 3 more years. So the subsequent action of the city in portraying us as a delinquent financial institution, creating a drain on their finances and a potential drain on our ability to renew our infrastructure, was basically neutralized by our own Steve Poker, who developed balance sheets and spreadsheets to show that that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, and that we could finance it without any problem. So they're threatening by considering selling the park to a private owner who, my understanding is, could change the rents right away to whatever they felt like it. The only time you can do that is when you change ownership. We were advised by the cities many years ago when we tried to get more equal rents for people who were paying considerably more than their neighbors, simply because the previous owner had raised interest every time someone moved out. So I don't know that legally that's totally true, but that's what we were told by the city management at the time. So we are very interested in protecting the affordable housing here in Marin Valley Mobile Country Club, an action that begins in 1988 by the PAC acquisition coming into play, and that this partnership with the city, where they agreed to help us create a vehicle to allow affordable housing, is now in jeopardy. So we really need to stand up and invest in our future, because those of us who live here and have invested our life savings, or a considerable portion of our life savings, into developing and maintaining and improving our homes, is threatened. So we're asking, we're seeming to ask the board to create a fund that residents can contribute to in order to protect our interests. Steve?
So if you're like me and every morning you wake up here, you're glad you live here. And it's a wonderful place for us to be. And it's a wonderful community. And we want to do all we can to keep that going long into the future. The city didn't really buy this place in the conventional way with putting down a big down payment or planning on having it be an intimate part of their operations. They bought it more or less as a fiduciary to sign on so that we could be here and pay the loan and continue with being able to provide low income and moderate income housing. So it seems like they're at the point where they're ready to throw us under the bus, so to speak, in order to have a nice big capital gain, which seems kind of strange because they can't really invest in real estate generally. A city is allowed only very conservative investments. And anyway, now they come up with a real estate investment they're may cash in on. We, of course, would like to prevent that from happening, or at least pursue all routes to see what can be done to maintain the situation we have. So that's why we're meeting with, and we will probably hire legal counsel very soon. This is going to cost some bucks. We don't have it in our treasury, in our small bank account. we're very likely looking at a retainer of $10,000. And down the road, if the attorneys succeed, possibly 50, 60,000 or more. Now, if you look at 60,000 and you divide that by 400, you get $150 per person. That's not too bad. What if you don't have that? And we ask you to plunk in some money every 3 or 4 months, maybe 4 payments of $37.50 over the course of a year. So we're trying to help you see how you can contribute. There's not going to be any demand. You can still live here and not contribute. But we need help from as many people as possible. Some people will give more. Some people will give a lot. I do taxes for a lot of people in this park. I know we have the money. But I can't name any names. You know who you are. And I'd like us to come up with this money. I don't think we'll have a problem with the 10,000. We've heard a lot of people ready to give. That's wonderful. And you don't have to write a check tomorrow, but we'd like something soon. We'll be putting a box on the counter labeled. You can put checks in. If you have a larger check and you're nervous about that, get it directly to myself or my wife, Tara. I will be making the deposits and maintaining a spreadsheet of every donor and the amount on my computer. If it turns out that we don't need to spend all the money, the balance will be returned proportional to what you gave. Okay, we're not going to hang on to this money or spend it for anything else. But and we don't want loans. No, this is handing over money to help with the costs. Anything else that I need to say? I'll give you a little receipt. I need to get a better backup for my computer, so I can't be losing this information. I'll get that real soon. I'm carbonite online moment-to-moment backup.
I appreciate your comments, but we're gonna wait until the board speaks and then
So,
we'll ask for.
yeah, the board members, I'm sure, will think of things that I haven't said. So that's it. We're doing a fundraiser. And it's not just today, it's not just this week. This will go on for a while. Because I think it's going to take a little while for us to get that kind of money. So I hope you will all think about this. This isn't just the passing wrinkle that's going to go away. This is our future here in our homes, in this park. And I'm not saying we know exactly what direction we're going to take. There's a lot of ideas floating out there. We will be working on that with legal counsel. I think I'm done.
Excuse me, just very quickly, just on another perspective. The city sees this as a $30 million gain. Actually, it's more like a $38 million gain if our reserve hasn't been plundered, which it probably has by now, but I don't know that. But anyway, that's big stakes for the city, which means that for us, we need big guns to address the big stakes. And so that is why, that we're looking for, 10,000 for a retainer for, it's pocket change really for a law firm, not even that. And actually, if we get it for what we need from a law firm for 50, 60,000, as Steve mentioned, that would be great. But and it would take a very good firm to be able to do that. So that's what we're looking for, and we need to pay for it.
Yeah, just coming down the line, I just want to say one more thing before I go down the line to Joan. Basically, we plan to stay here for the rest of our lives, most of us. And we've invested a lot of money and fixed up our homes for that purpose. The new owner coming in, the existing one, who made the proposal, said that he wanted to take $250,000, $3/4 of $1 million in profit out a year.
that is the money that we were exceeding our need for redoing the infrastructure. Taking his $750,000 worth of profit out, the infrastructure needs to be funded, and that could very easily be passed through to us, pass-through requests for additional funding to pay for infrastructure improvements over and above our rents. Raising our rents because of a new owner and 5% a year, $150, $300, $400, $500, $600, much more than that each year is what you're going to need to pay out to a new owner, which may happen. But what we want to do is try not for that to happen. And we need your support to move quickly before this rolling avalanche of the city and the new potential owner rolls over us. Thank you for listening. So
I'm monitoring the chat line, and people are saying, who do we make the checks out to? And if they want to mail them, do they mail them to you, Steve?
you can make the check out to PAC, all capital letters. That's the simplest way to do it. We're opening a new bank account this week. I'll hang on to the checks, or if we need to, we'll put them in the existing bank account and then transfer them over. Okay? We'll have the box up here probably tomorrow morning. You can just get them to me at my house, 51 Glenview Drive.
I just wanted to say, a lot of people have very strong feelings about, I hate the city, I'm mad at them about the way they've treated us. I wanna do something else. Other people say, well, maybe this guy wouldn't be so bad compared to other possible options. Other people are very adamant about, I want to own the park. I want to be resident owned. And so I just want to say that all options are being explored. And, you know, some things may not be possible. But I just want I know, and my husband and I are doing this too. What if this, and what if that, and what if we had to leave, and what if this? You know, so I just wanted to say that if we hire legal counsel, which we may very well, we're going to be waiting for them to give us direction about what's possible, what's probable, and you know what it may cost, and how to go about it. And so in the meantime, I would just hope for myself and for the people in this room and those of you listening at home and in the minutes, to just remind people to remain calm, keep calm, carry on, because it's being explored, and PAC is putting one foot in front of the other. And we will let you know, as we said in last week's meeting, we'll let you know if and when we need to go to the media, if and when we want you to write letters, if and when we want you to pony up some money, and here we are saying that. So we'll keep you informed about what we need, because we know everybody is concerned.
Okay, before we vote on whether we're going to go forward and create this fund, I'd like to hear from some of the residents. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, PAC is the Park Acquisition Corporation. It's a 501c4 state corporation. PAC is an independent contractor. We're not associated with the city. We're not associated with management.
They do not own this bank account. David, would you like to make a comment?
I want to make a comment and then had a question. My comment would be,
Excuse me, this is David.
I'm sorry, David said 16 Scenic Drive.
My comment would be, I've heard several, I don't know if you have a suggested donation range, but I've heard several people that have offered to contribute $1,000 each to the fund. I don't know if you can confirm that for people or not, if you've actually gotten.
We have heard that. You can give us $50, 500, 1,000, 10,000, whatever's comfortable, works for you. We will need it.
Thank you.
Then what we don't use it, we'll return it to you.
Thank you. My question is, is there, it sounds like you've chosen the Park Acquisition Corporation to manage those funds, to be the recipient of them?
That's the simplest.
And is there any legal issues in terms of our delegation agreement or other understandings we had with the city?
No, as Jay just said, we operate as an independent contractor to the city. We are what kind of corporation we call it? No, it's
A mutual.
mutual benefit. You are a corporation. And because of that, we are nonprofit, but contributions, we are not a charitable organization. So contributions to us are not tax deductible. But we do not have to, the corporation does not have to pay taxes as if that's taxable income. We'll file tax returns when the contribution reaches a certain level, but there will be no tax to pay.
So I guess my question though is in terms of the delegation agreement or any advice we've gotten from the city. I can understand how we can give money to the PAC. My concern would be if the PAC then turns around and hires an attorney, is there any conflict between the delegation and maybe the city's position that the city is our attorney?
Absolutely.
No, we will consult with the attorney who we hire for those details.
Serene Fisher, 6B Ridge Drive. I was curious about the status. You are a nonprofit, but not quite a normal nonprofit as such, that you're a charitable organization. If you used a fiscal sponsor, would you be entitled then would people be entitled to get a tax write-off on their donation?
No, because this isn't a charitable purpose. This is not public benefit.
It isn't.
No.
Why not? It's mutual benefit. The only people who would benefit are the residents here. If we were public benefit, it would be a different thing. Well, that's an interesting argument because the city's making out that we are a cost to the greater community.
It's not an argument, it's a legal,
Yes.
it's a legal status.
Okay, fair enough. So then the other question I have is that if the city owns us, isn't there a conflict of interest if we use a request their attorney? In which case, we could ask the city to provide funds so that we can hire our own attorney.
Oh, yeah.
You have, and?
No answer.
Okay, please. No answer?
No answer.
And is that on record that we've asked for legal counsel from the city? No.
It's a legal question, and I'm afraid that we're gonna have to wait until if we pass this resolution and our passes. That will be explored.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're trying to do everything we can to get funds from the city to help pay for the legal costs. Thank you.
They don't have any, they have our money, they don't have any of their own.
They're voting worse than ours.
I'd like to ask the next question. This is from Ron Roberts and Deborah Boyer. Do we have someone well suited to interview attorneys?
The meetings with the attorneys is Jay, Mary Curry, and myself. We've met with one attorney who's part of a big firm we're very impressed with. We're probably going to have 2 more meetings before we decide. We need to move forward with this, and we can't take a long time interviewing a lot of law firms.
Yeah.
Hi, Juliet Mortimer McLean, 24 View Ridge. And my question or comment has to do with, the form of funds to go into this fund for the our legal counsel. We could write checks. Could we also have other like electronic forms of donation, like Venmo or PayPal, or, you know, some of the things, you know, some other means of being able to donate money to this cause? Because if I put that out to some of my friends, you know, that are not, you know, don't live here, that aren't part of the park, they'd be like, oh yeah, well, you know, pitch in 25, you know, micro donations, that sort of thing, like kind of how the, you know, politicians are doing now on Facebook. So I just thought I'd, you know, put that out there if that was anything that was useful. So
Once we have legal counsel, we can discuss that with them and see if that's appropriate and how to do it.
okay,
For now, we'll just do cash and checks from our own people to the PAC.
okay, so just call full cash too, we can hand to you in an envelope.
We,
Absolutely.
we probably won't take crypto.
Maggie said free to be rich. A few years back, we had a little committee about trying to equalize the rents, because some people, like myself, bought homes that had been sold a few times before SAID turned it over to the PAC at the time in 1999. Okay, I just added it up. Gary Appleman the other day was talking about $600 rent. You know, oh, that's great. I've been paying $900. I added up $52,200. I've paid more in the last 12, 13 years that I've lived here. I'm thinking, well, I think there are other people that are probably similar situations. Yeah, I live on Social Security. Anyway, what I was thinking of doing is just, I'll pay $600 and put the $300 a month in this.
We don't want you to jeopardize your presence here in the park. So be careful.
I'm just saying, you can stretch, but rather, it was a lot.
Let's stay on top.
John Feld, 11 Club U Drive. I just have a comment. I want to thank the PAC for all the amazing work you've done. I'm stunned by how much you know and how much you retain and how much work you do. And I think we're all truly thankful for everything you're doing.
Very Curry.
I'll be very curious. You know, with $150 a unit or 180, whatever it was. I'm wondering if there's a way to get word out to folks who can't afford that, but
I was just.
no, I know, I want people to know, I'm gonna give more. And I want them to know that people will give more, so they're not worried.
Let me make that clear. We're not asking $150 per unit. That was just an example. If we divide the whole thing by how many people we are. No, please give more if you can. I'm going to give more. I heard that a lot of people are going to give more. Because a lot of people can't.
Right. Thank you. I'm Frank Simpson. I live at 2 Ridge Drive. I've been exploring whether the city even owns the park and has the right to sell it. That's the question I have. And in the process of doing that, we were speaking with the people who were signing things in 1997 and passing them in the city. And during that process, I learned, and the PAC board already knows this, and I wanted to let everyone else know, that the attorney who prepared all those documents and met with the PAC board for 3 years prior to 1997, every Monday night, and told us that he missed every Monday night football game and etc. That man is still alive, and he's still an attorney. And I just want to mention that he knows what's happened to this park for 20 years and is still making phone calls to people in the park And I just want to let people know that I think he'd be a really good choice. So,
Is that Kenyon?
Yeah.
yes, it is.
He will be a resource. I've already spoken to him 3
Let's
times.
go to Mike.
I wanted everyone to know that.
Thank you.
Serena Fisher, 16 Ridge Drive. Being a professional fundraiser for over 40 years, my hat's already spinning. There are a lot of adults in their 40s, 30s who have parents or grandparents living in this park. Our campaign needs to go beyond the residents and because they want their parents to be able to stay here with their grandparents.
Yeah.
And they've got crypto.
So don't call it that.
All right, I'll help, whatever I can do.
Are you talking about baby snails?
Michelle Rodriguez. Sorry, I haven't been heard of the conversation behind the scenes about kind of the attorney conversations and so on. And I was trying to kind of get my head around how could this, go with our money. And I was kind of putting it in 2 buckets. One being, what is the advice we need and what are the actions we need taken? And then how do you kind of prioritize that? And where I wish you well on that, because I'm thinking about, here we've got a purchase order on the books and the city's taking 2 weeks to respond. What is that priority over maybe the general question of what kind of affordable housing protections do we really have and what political energy do we have behind that? So just wishing you well with that. It seems very complicated and I'll do whatever I can.
That's why we need to move fast and hire an attorney before the end of this week.
Yeah, well. So that it cannot be swept under the.
I'd like to ask the board to create a motion that we can vote on.
Oh, okay, well, I'll do that. Yeah. I move that we create a means to gather funds in anticipation of possible retention of legal counsel.
Okay, so can you clarify that, John? You want to clarify it? Just yeah.
I think we need to include establish a bank account.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Because-
including the establishment of a bank account and further that we appoint Steve Clover, our treasurer and chair of our finance committee, to manage said fund.
Second.
I'll second that if you. Second that over. You seconded the first part. Okay.
Oh,
You second the second part.
I second the second part too. We're there. Okay.
Discussion. Any discussion on part of
You
the
read it
board?
again?
oh, okay, I'll restate. I move that we create an account, no,
I
Create and
create a method to gather funds in anticipation of possible retention of legal counsel. And further, that we appoint Steve Booker to manage said fund. Well, fund, bank account.
Oh, and authorize Steve and Jay to open a new bank account.
Okay, and authorize Steve and Jay to open a new bank account for said purpose.
And we will prepare a corporate resolution to take to the bank.
Oh, well, that's part of it.
So, to create and authorize, Jay Shelter and Steve Booker to open a new bank account to, host funds that are being donated to, hire a legal counsel to defend our interests.
Yeah, and Steve seconded it.
Okay, any comment further from the board? Okay, any comment from the audience? Yes.
Each had a 16 Civic Drive. You would like to get checks starting now and preferably in the next couple of days. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, starting now.
Starting now, we're planning on going to the bank on Thursday to go with a big basket full of checks and money and get this ball rolling.
Collins 135 Sunrise. Does that have to have some type of thing in there saying that funds will be returned to owners proportionate to, or is that not to be in just protection?
The motion, though.
Okay.
You got it, Kathleen.
Simply, neither is a Christmas party.
You know where you get.
Maybe we should think about doing a robocall as soon as possible about once you've done created that.
Good idea. Thank you.
PAC will be using the Echo robocalls to flyers. Emails to everyone, as I said, any way we can to get out the word whenever we need to.
Urban Wheatley, Club Hill Drive. Is it possible to put a portion of this money in an interest-bearing account? I mean, just treasury bills are 5% for 30 days. And I know you have to need it. I know you need to use it right away, but.
If we collect $1 million, and we only need $10,000, Steve, I guarantee you will find a vehicle to gain interest.
We could be talking about a lot of money.
We hope so.
And
That's what I'm thinking.
And we could be talking about a protracted period of time as well, particularly if it's something complicated like part of resident ownership.
If things drag out and we do have a large amount of money, we will investigate various investment instruments to get the best return.
I have a couple more from the chat. Can I just go with those? So Tom Whedon said, what is the trigger for moving forward to hiring said legal support?
This is the money.
Okay, all right. And then Gail Roberts said, I do not know the legal ramifications. I am wondering whether the retention of legal counsel slows down any progress for an individual to purchase this park while also delaying any action of the city of Nevada.
Yes.
Yeah, John.
I was just gonna say, excuse me, while you're interviewing the lawyer, asking the question about GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah, of course.
That was Janet Shoulders.
Sorry. Well, Martina Cockritz, when I moved into the park, I had no doubt that a park owned by a city will have a standard of care and that I will be safe. And I do understand that I need to keep myself safe and be careful with every move I do. And for that reason, I think money is really important, but self-care is also important.
Okay, not seeing any further comments, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor in the creation of an authorization for Jay Shelfer and Steve Volker to open a new account to warehouse funds to defend our interests.
Well, we're using Carol Joy's language, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what I can say is that after the termination of this meeting, we do have the ability to collect any funds that you'd like to donate today, and we have a receipt book which will evidence your donation to the fund. And again, reiterating, if we don't spend it, the proportion we don't spend will be returned to you. And we thank you very much for your help in this regard. You what? You're right, you were the first one. I'll take it. Wait until the end of the meeting. Let me, I'll quickly end the meeting, and please bear with me for 1 second. There's one more item on the agenda before we can terminate the meeting and start collecting funds. And one more comment from Mary Curry.
No, I'm the next item.
Oh, you're the next item. Okay, a brief informal overview on the response regarding to the grand jury report. No action needed. Mary Curry.
Right. Okay, this piece of paper was on most of the chairs. Many of you know that a lot of this started with the grand jury report that came out on June 8th, basically slashing Novato and slashing us in that same report. But one of the first things we'll do once legal counsel is underhand, or whatever the right words are. Underway, thank you. We will begin finalizing response to the grand jury. That has to happen this month. It probably has to happen over the next couple of weeks. I just wanted everybody to know there'll be several rounds of opportunity to comment. And once we get an official approved response, we can then work with the community to go to the Nevada City Council with sound bites, posters, comments, all of that. So that'll be coming. That'll probably be our next action in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Well, we'd like to note that we want to say something, Carol. What?
Yeah.
No, we were on the grand jury report. Yeah. Please.
The city, I noticed that the city of Nevada City Council agenda is for July 25th. Their entertainment of their own response to the grand jury. And the staff member assigned was Cunningham from the finance department. And so depending upon what we want to do in terms of our own response, whether we want to include them in some conversation of this is what we're thinking on our response, or here is our response to yours, then we would really want to get that done by Friday. If we just want to get in the packet, it would be the next Friday. Thank you.
The response to the grand jury report will be part of the work we do with the newly hired attorney.
Hey, Clyde Rogers, 9 Phone Lead. And in support of that response to the grand jury, I just want to give a few bullet points that you can include, Mary, in your notes, but this is good information for people to have. Steve was kind enough to give me some financial reports for the last 12 years. And I took that and I assimilated it all a bit. Nice fat spreadsheet. And in a simple historical review of Marin Valley's income statement for fiscal years ending 2011 through 22, here's some facts. Park residents have paid rent in the amount of 28 million, average of 2.3 million per year. These rents have resulted in revenue in excess of expenses by 10 million, an annual average of 850,000. These excesses have been achieved even with Park paying the following 8 million in expenses: capital of 5 million, owner expense, which is a city charge, of 400,000, park utility maintenance of 700,000, tree care and fire abatement of over $1 million, in lieu of tax fees to the city of Novato, another fee of some sort, I guess, tax substitute of over 600,000. The land purchase mentioned earlier of 250,000, not reflected on our balance sheet. These, unfortunately, the financial reports haven't been reviewed. They were reviewed by a CPA through 2018, but haven't been reviewed in the 4 years since. Investment income earned from millions of park cash reserves averaged over 200,000 for fiscal years 2011 through 13, but dropped to near zero from 2012 to 2022, a loss of conservatively $1 million. And the city of Nevada failed to charge the park for all insurance, for some insurance from 2020 through 2022, and also failed to credit the park for investment income, which I think has happened recently, but this is part of what we're catching up. Anyway, these are just some big picture numbers that I think might be helpful when we are talking to our attorneys and possibly even public, but just for park residents to understand. Thank you.
In chat. The city, a question from Leah Thebot. The city of Novato had until last Friday to accept the offer to buy our park. Is it known what their response was?
No,
Okay.
most likely the potential buyer extended the date.
That's a conjecture, right? Yeah.
I think we can assume,
Okay.
because they are considering it still.
Did everybody hear that?
Okay, again. No action needed on that item. Everyone, we welcome Todd's help to Steve and to Mary in our response. And I'd like to move on to determine that the next PAC board meeting, monthly PAC board meeting, will be on Tuesday, August the 1st at 6 p.m. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
And we may be calling on you before that. We may have a special meeting. Stay tuned.
That's the next regular meeting. There may be other special meetings.
You can count on it. So adjournment, and if you'd like to make a donation today, Steve is here with a receipt book, and we would be more than happy to be able to know that we have enough funds to actually retain a lawyer that we are in the process of looking for in the next few days, just to be prepared for any action the city may be taking in the very near future.
I move to adjourn.
Like I just said, in light of all the money that I just heard about, like millions of dollars in spending, why don't we just pay off the loan? You know, I realize that's what you're talking about.
We've raised this question numerous times, and it's not appropriate.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we have.
I move to adjourn.
David, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to go home and get the checkbook, we will stay here for at least 1 hour. Please take your chairs to the maximum.